So we are doing 9.5 writing equations of trig graphs. So yesterday in 9.4, we only focused on trig graphs that were at the origin, right? That started at the origin. So we only had A and B, right? Today, we're moving around. Okay, so we are going to be finding our H and our K. All right. So for the sake of our graphs, for consistency, I'm trying to figure out like the best way to tell you guys, use this part of the graph, use that part of the graph. But I think it's going to be the best idea is to use the one that's closest to the y-axis. And regardless of whether it's negative or positive, we're going to select the graph that is closest to the y-axis, okay? And it doesn't matter if it's to the left or to the right, just distance-wise, which is always positive, which is closest, right? So here's our function for sine. Here's our function for cosine. Every sinusoidal graph has one of each. It has a sine and a cosine graph that when I create it and graph it, it's going to be the same function, okay? First thing we're going to do is find our A. Our A is max minus min divided by 2. So that's your A variable. Second thing you're going to do is find your B. Your B is 2 pi divided by P. Remember to find your P. It's where it ends minus where it started. Okay. Your H is going to be your distance from the y-axis to the beginning of the cycle. So how far are you from the y-axis? So if you want to think about it in terms of math, it would be your absolute value of 0 minus your x1. Why is it absolute value? Because distance is positive. Okay. Your H is going to be where your X is. And so you got to keep in mind that if I went to the left, left is going to be what in my equation? Plus, right? So if I'm going to the left in the equation, it's going to be a positive. If I went to the right in the equation, it's going to be a minus, right? And last, your K equals your max minus your amplitude. Remember, your amplitude is just the absolute value of your A. And then you put it all together. Okay, so it is simple math that we're doing as far as like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. It's just remembering what, when, and where to do it at. Okay, so we're going to start here with this graph. We're going to start off first by finding our sine function. Okay, we're going to start by finding the sine function. So the sine function, I'm going to look for what is my closest sine graph. Well, my closest sine graph would be starting here and completing my cycle here. Do we see that? Okay, so based on what I have here, I can identify all the things that I'm going to need. So for this, my x1 is going to be, we're at pi over 6, right? My minimum value is going to be y equals -7. My maximum value is going to be y equals 1. And our x2 is going to equal 3 pi over 2. Are there any questions about all the things I've highlighted up here so far? Where you start, where you end, and your max and min values. Cool? All right, so then we're going to now do some math. So your A value equals your max minus your min divided by 2. Well, our max is 1. Our min is -7. And then divided by 2. A negative times a negative makes a positive. So this is actually 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So our A is going to be 4. Okay. Now we're going to find our B. In order to find our B, we have to find our P first. So to find our period, your period equals your x2 minus your x1, right? So our x2 is our x1 is pi over 6. You can do a little quick manipulation here. How can I turn this into that to common denominator? What does it become?
9 pi over 6.
9 pi over 6. So this can become 9 pi over 6. And now I can do the little math. What's 9 minus 1?
8.
8. So we have 8 pi over 6, which equals
4 pi over 3 pi. Sorry.
Oh,
4 pi.
I messed up, guys. I did it again. Can someone tell me what I did? I didn't put my negative. And you just let me do it all the way through. Why didn't you?
Yeah.
Y'all are shy?
Yes.
Since when?
Today.
Oh, okay. You just let me out here making a fool of myself. Okay, a negative times a negative makes it a positive. So we actually end up adding 9 pi plus 1 pi over 6, which makes 10 pi over 6, which equals
5 pi over 2. 3. Sorry, I am so tired, Ms. Jones.
Did you just not see me forget a whole negative? It's okay. Okay, so we got our P. Can we find our B now? Yes. So your B equals 2 pi divided by your P. But when it's a fraction, what are we doing? We're keeping changing and flipping it, right? So that means we're multiplying by the reciprocal. And what do we get?
6 over 5.
6 over 5. So we have our B. Okay, your A and your B are going to be the same for your sine and your cosine graphs. Do y'all hear me? Your A and your B are going to be the same for your sine and cosine graph. Okay, what's going to be different is their H. So let's find the H of our sine graph. How do we find H?
Yeah.
The distance from the Y. So just literally, how far am I from the Y axis right here?
Negative pi over 6.
Pi over 6, right?
Sorry, because this is about
Yep. You can put the negative, remind yourself that you went to the left. Your K, and how do you find your K? Your max minus your amplitude, and your amplitude is just the absolute value of your 4. So what was our max? What was our max? 1.
Excuse this interruption.
Our K equals -3. All right, so I have all the variables I need, right? I have my A, I have my B, I have my H, and I have my K. So let's write this out. So we have f of x equals. Can someone tell me why I wrote -4? Because it's upside down. Okay, so we have A equals -4. And then we're doing sine. What's our B? 6 over 5 x. And then what's our H? So it'd be a negative times a negative makes it a positive. And then our K is -3. And there's your sine function. 6 over 5. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing, but this time with the cosine. And all you have to do this time is just find your H. Everything else is gonna be the same, but your H. So our cosine function is this one. This is the closest to the y-axis, right? That one's all the way over there. That one's way over there. So this would be this would be my closest cosine function. Do you see it? Are we comfortable with it? All right, what is its H? Where does it start? I'm here. So if you count by sixes, this would be, well, these are counting by 6. If I cut sixes in half, they're gonna become what? 12s. If I cut a 6 in half, it becomes a 12. So this would be 1 12, 2 12s, 3 12s, 4 12s, 5 12s, 6 12s, and 7. So this starts at so the H is 7 pi over 12. And I gotta remember that I went to the left. All right, anything else? Nope, here we go. So our cosine is gonna be f of x equals. Why is it a positive 4? It's not upside down. Just because the sign is negative, the cosine does not have to be. Okay, 4 cosine, what is our b? 6 over 5. And it's going to be x plus 7 pi over 12. And our k value is -3. Terrible?
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible. I told you it's just a little. But the math, all you did was, I told you, add, subtract, and multiply and divide. That's all we did. Okay?
We can take the other two, Mom.
Oh, you were gonna try.
Oh,
It's your turn.
we can do the first one for a do now.
We have time. I believe in you.
I don't.
At least find your variables while we're here. While it's fresh on your mind. Try and find your A, your B, your H, and your K. You got this. I believe in you. You got this.